Hi, I'm Megan, mental health therapist, and I want to do a little video today on the negativity bias. This is something that shows up all the time in therapy, in parenting, in relationships, honestly, just being human. And it was something I was talking about with some colleagues at a networking meeting last week, where we were talking about this idea that our brains tend to constantly focus on the negatives. We give a lot more um, weight to negative things that happen in our life, negative experiences, criticism, rather than we do to positive experiences. We tend to remember criticism more easily than we remember praise. We sometimes tend to focus on what's going wrong rather than what's going well. Some of the way this shows up is, for example, if you're asked right now, think of one of your most positive experiences in elementary school and think of one of your most negative experiences in elementary school. What does your brain tend to come up with uh, more easily? Which experiences tend to have more weight, more feeling associated with it? Oftentimes, when something negative happens to us, we remember it in a lot of detail, and it can really weigh on us. So this isn't a flaw. It is actually protective wiring that we have in our systems. It is related to prehistoric times and the way that our brains were originally designed. So what our brains are actually doing in terms of being wired more for the negative is that we're scanning our environment. We're constantly looking for threats or for danger. Back then, if you think of caveman days, we had to constantly survey the area, trying to look for any sort of threats to our survival, tigers attacking, getting eaten by a bear, things like that. In those times, this negativity bias really served us well. We really had to be on high alert for anything that could have been a threat or a danger to our survival. But there's a little bit of a modern day mismatch here. So, as society has evolved, we've evolved, technology's evolved, there's so many other things going on in our life in modern day society. We're not met every day with survivals to our actual life and well-being. But our nervous system doesn't really know that. Our nervous systems and our brains haven't really evolved to catch up to modern day life. So instead, it's not predators that we're looking out for, but we are reacting to negative experiences, such as a critical comment or a difficult interaction with a partner or a child, or maybe an awkward moment at school or at work. And our brain treats those experiences just like they would a real threat in the environment. So, for example, you may get 10 positive comments and one negative in a day, and it's the negative one that you're fixated on. Maybe you have a conversation with somebody and overall it went well, but you're stuck ruminating over, oh my gosh, I feel like I said this one stupid thing. You may replay these conversations over and over in your head, really fixated on the negatives. You'll focus on what didn't go well rather than what did. So I'll probably get done recording this video, and even though maybe I give you helpful, useful information, I'll be like, oh, I think I said too many times. So those are just some examples of how this really shows up for us. So I see this all the time in the therapy setting when I'm working with individuals. They're constantly now I'm just conscious that I said they're constantly focusing on what's not going well. They are critical of themselves. I do a lot of work with self-talk, rewiring your brain. A lot of the self-talk is very negative, and this keeps us stuck. It creates patterns of anxiety. It leads to overwhelm, sometimes to depression, especially when our nervous system is already overwhelmed or overactivated. So, the reason that this matters is if we don't understand this negative bias, this negativity bias. We start to think like there's something wrong with me. We start to believe the negatives. We start to believe the criticism, and we really just kind of reinforce this brain wiring to live in sort of that glass half empty, pessimistic view versus being able to shift into a more glass half full, being able to roll with the punches and know that life is going to sometimes be 50-50. It's not always going to be great and perfect, but we can let those negative moments go without giving them so much weight, without spiraling down that shame spiral of I'm failing, something's wrong with me. So how can we deal with this negativity bias? So we know you may have heard our brains are neuroplastic. So it's this idea that our brains have the ability to change and we have the ability to create new neural pathways in our brain. And so we can start shifting out of this negativity bias wiring into having like a more balanced outlook. So just noticing what's happening, name it. Notice when you're stuck ruminating about something negative or you're stuck in self-blame or self-criticism. Just being able to say, okay, this is that negativity bias I heard about. By giving attention to it, you sort of lessen some of the power that it has over it. You may have heard a lot out there around like using positive affirmations, using positive mantras, and they're not just fluff and woo. They actually help our brain to calm down, to settle. It helps the nervous system to find a sense of balance and to feel more steady when that negativity bias kicks into gear, trying to protect us, trying to say, this isn't safe, this isn't safe. When we're telling ourselves, when we're focused on criticism or we're telling ourselves this could go wrong, what we're actually doing is trying to protect ourselves from future problems. Say you get a criticism at work, and then you're stuck fixating on it. What's happening is it's your system trying to say, okay, if I focus on this, if I focus on this negative thing, then it won't happen again, and then I'll be protected from embarrassment, shame, feeling judged, feeling ridiculed. But really, it's ineffective. It's not really working for us. It's really just kind of keeping us stuck on this hamster wheel of feeling badly. So, if you find that this is a pattern that happens for you, if you feel like, yeah, I see that happening, I give a lot more weight to the negative experiences. I tend to be very critical of myself. I tend to be very fearful of judgment or how I'm perceived by others. Then just notice that this is your brain's negativity bias at work. It's not anything wrong with you. It's literally how you are wired as a human, but you can start to shift out of it. Our brains were designed to do this. It needed to do this to protect us in the past. We don't really need this wiring anymore, and we can actively make choices and decisions to shift out of that. Okay, I posted about this on my blog a little while ago, so I will post the link to that below in case you want to read a little bit more about this. And as always, if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.